Welcome, homeschool moms. So excited to have you joining me this evening. For those watching the replay, I'm really excited that you're giving me some of your time. And I hope that some of the ideas I give you here, you can take back and you can use with your children and just have a richer homeschooling experience as a result. Okay, let me really quickly share this into my group for those who are watching from there. And let's see. Give me 1 second here. Okay. Yay. Okay. Thank you for your patience. Okay, so for all of you in Homeschooling Hub, hello, and thank you for joining me again. Those watching me through my page, come join my group. I'd love to have you involved in our discussions about learning. And for those who are guests and visiting, I am Jill Wolfe, and I am a learning specialist focused on addressing what it means to awaken the learn in learning. I help homeschool moms plan meaningful experiences and overcome curriculum fatigue, planning exhaustion, and even feeling like your creativity muscle is shriveled up. And we work together to bring a very rich experience to your child. I've been doing a series called Using Play to Improve Writing. And tonight is episode 16 on photography. So if you enjoy this, there are a bunch more episodes that you can watch through my page or my group. Okay, stick around too, because at the end I have a really special and exciting announcement of something coming up at the beginning of next week, and I don't want you to miss it. All right, photography. Well, rarely do we find that a play in really young kids. However, there are those around 8 or 9, especially with the invention of the iPhone and the camera being there, who are very aware of pictures, taking pictures, if not the selfie, then of other things on a regular basis, much more so than photography was 20, 40, 60 years ago. So at a younger age, they might show some interest in this. So while some of what I'm talking about might be geared a little older, I think you can take this down to even 7, 8 years old if they're showing an interest. So what does photography bring us that is unique in terms of play? It's similar to the drawing. So if you watch my episode on drawing, it's similar to that. But it's even more so because you are capturing movement in a still frame. Yes, sometimes people are posing for a picture, but more often than not, the really incredible photographs are capturing something that is a glimpse into someone's life or some motion. So I'll tell you one way that I used photography in a professional development. I used to lead professional development for groups of teachers or principals, and I would always start, if it was a new group I was working with, I'd always start with this exercise. And I'd pull in, I had this big envelope, says table 9 instead of photographs, of all these photographs that I've collected over time. The fronts of cards, pictures I've seen on things, and I just put a big stack of these out on the table. And I asked them to look through them and pick one that represents who they are and how they feel today. And then I asked them to think about why that's what they chose. And then they're to share it with a partner at the table. And then I have their partner share theirs to the whole table. If I'm going to be doing some work with this group of people, I want them to have some kind of dynamic, and there's always questions that can get to the surface level. This digs deeper. So I have some, I want to show you a couple because I think there's some things that you can do with this. Oh, here's a great one. I would hate to be that person in that car. Here's one I find intriguing. I'm hoping you can see these okay, but it's a bunch of people. It's very foggy, but you know that might mean something to somebody in a particular day and situation they're in. Okay, I've got a whole bunch of these. Let me find, oh, here's a cute one. A bunch of puppies hanging on there. Oh, here's one. Man hugging a Bengal tiger. I have some nature-y ones. I have like all sorts of things that Oh, here's one, horse and a puppy. Oh, here's just one of a path along the edge. Now, you might be thinking, where's she going with this? Okay, so you've heard the quote, a picture's worth 1,000 words, right? So what I'm asking is for people to pick a picture that somehow represents them. In place of 1,000 words, pick a picture that represents you and how you feel today. Then I do ask them to use some words to explain that to us. Well, that's exactly one of the things that you can do using photography to improve writing. You start with a photograph, okay? So I'm gonna say up here that one of the things you can do is you start with a photo and you let it lead to 1,000 words. Okay, not literally, but you let the photo lead to the words. And so here's some things that you can do with it. Maybe you find 3 or 4 photos. Plus, I would always give your child choices when it comes to this. Some other time I'm going to do a Facebook Live on choice and its power, but you want them to be able to choose which of these resonates that they can best write from, and they will definitely write longer and more and better for you if they have that choice up front. So just pick like 3 or 4, but you could pick one that's got somehow a person in it. So I'm looking to see if I have one that like jumps off the page at me. I got all these nature ones. Where's all my people ones? Give me a second here. Oh, here we go. Here's one. Okay, so that's one of the choices. 4 kids covered in mud. And all the fun looks on their faces, okay? All a little different. So you might give 3 pictures and they take this picture, and from it, you're gonna ask them to write and do some writing. And so you're gonna give them a specific kind of writing they can do from it. Pick a picture, and then I want you guys to write a story from this picture. It could be what happened to leading up to this picture, or what happened after this picture, right? Remember, picture, a photograph captures a moment in something bigger running along. So I want you to write me the story up to this picture, or again, from it. Or maybe I want you to write a journal article of one of the people in here. What would they have recorded about today? In their words, in their tone, in their speech. What was it? And now you've got this little guy. Maybe he didn't willingly go into the mud. So maybe his journal entry is going to be, my big brother threw me into the mud pit, so I kicked it back. You know what I mean? So there's the way they encountered the mud, although they may have all ended happy, maybe it didn't start. And that's what might come from a journal entry from this person. Maybe a poem, if you're working with poetry, or 2 or 3 lines about the event and try to rhyme them to some of the beginning of even poetry. Let's say you picked one that has a single person in it, and some, like this one. Okay, and maybe you're going to do some reflection or digging into this person. And so maybe what I'm going to ask you to write is, I want you to describe this person's pain. What do you think is causing them pain? Now, there's not a ton to go on. We don't have facial expressions. We just see this person standing and almost mesmerized by this light coming through here. So what could recently have happened that caused them some pain or some trouble? This lady, oh, she's knee deep in mud, her car's stuck, okay? You can even see her face, not very happy about this. Okay, so maybe I want you to describe not her trouble, but how she's gonna overcome this. I want you to elaborate on this person's life in some way, okay? There are all sorts of ways you could take a picture and ask them to dig into that person, that situation, their life. I wonder, is somebody trying to give me a, maybe not. Sorry. Again, you're moving from a picture to your 1,000 words essentially, and you're digging into the photo. What's behind this? Who is this person? What is their story? Okay. There is, maybe it's a nature one, and you're asking from the perspective of the animal. Here's a great one. I think that's just beautiful. What's this horse's story? You know, my cousin works with abused horses and tries to bring them in and help rehabilitate them past their trauma. So maybe this is the story, like she might be inspired to write something that's the story behind this horse and the trauma they felt. Now here they are, and a storm is coming, and they just lean into the breeze. You know what I mean? Into the wind. I mean, there's so many amazing things that you could write to make up a story, even about an animal. Okay, so all right, so we've gone picture to 1,000 words. Here's where you be creative. The biggest way that you can make this experience creative is the photos that you find. Okay, and there's thousands of them online. Or you just go into a card shop and there's cards with pictures on the front. You go onto some photography sites. You're not selling these, you're using them for a learning experience. So find 4 or 5 that you like, print them off. I actually laminated these, you don't have to do that. But this way they could touch them and they could see them. But have that picture inspire 1,000 words. And I'll tell you, if your son or daughter is into photography, these things are gonna move them. All right, one is into 1,000 words. It's about the content and the story behind the picture, okay? The other is, so this is it more on an emotional level? The emotional side of this photo. There's also then on the technique, okay? If your son or daughter, is into photography, then they're going to be looking at technique. Well, what's technique? You're looking at composition. You're looking at lighting. Is it black and white? Is there high contrast? Is there low contrast? Is it kind of blurry? Does it have light blowing from the back, making the person or the animal or whatever is the image or the focal point towards the front have a different look and feel than if it was dark in the back and you had light through. So doing more of an analysis of the technique of the photo. What makes it so powerful? Like this horse one, why is that such a powerful picture? It's black and white. It's a white horse. Is it the way the wind blows through the hair? Is it contrast of the white horse against the dark storm? And the fact that I doubt the rain clouds were really that dark, but the way they use light in this picture, you've got this huge contrast that's beautiful. So what is it? So again, I'm saying you start with the photo to get your 1,000 words. Do it from an emotional or story perspective, and then for technique. Now we do it in reverse. So we take our 1,000 words and we go to a photo. Okay, so you do some writing, or we pick some writing, and from it you're going to have to put together a photo, take a picture. So I came up with a couple here. A few years ago, I was working on a business plan, and what I had established was a list of values for my company. And I talked to a friend of mine who's a photographer and said, do you think you could capture these values in a photograph? And she was really excited about the challenge. How do you capture responsibility in a single photograph? What do you put in there? How do you light it? What is the image? What is the representation? What is the orientate? I mean, how do I compose a photograph and take it? Or capture it? What's the action that's going on that I capture a moment of that represents responsibility? So it could be maybe not 1,000 words, maybe a value or something like that. The challenge is then with the writing, if I start with just a word or a quote, as I'm going to give you in a minute, then your child has to first elaborate for themselves. What does that word mean? Or what does this phrase or this quote or this passage mean? And then how do I translate that to a photo and then go take it? Okay, so that's the experience moving that direction. So I have a couple quotes here that I found. I got tons of quote books. This one's called The Most Brilliant Thoughts of All Time in 2 lines or less. Some are kind of lame, but some are really good. One is called My Life. So here's one by Joseph Hunter. He was in 1914 to 1974, so he died about 50 years ago. My life is in the hands of any fool who makes me lose my temper. My life is in the hands of any fool who makes me lose my temper. So my first challenge is to take this quote, write my 1,000 words. What does this mean? And it may not be in paragraph. It may be bullets, it may be pictures, it may be things that I'm drawing. It may be all sorts of ways that I'm making this quote come to life for me. Then I take those and I go take my picture. And I have to capture this in a single photo. Okay, if your child enjoys photography, this will be a really fun challenge. And you're having them write first to analyze whatever prompt it was that you gave them. Okay, let's see if I can find another one. Fortune does not change men, it unmasks them. Fortune does not change men, it unmasks them. That was written in the 1700s. So what does that really mean? And then how do I capture that in a photo? What do I set up? Is it a picture of somebody in Wall Street that is coming out of Wall Street and goes to get into his cab and pushes aside a little old lady? Like, okay, this guy has a lot of money. He thinks so highly of himself that he's not even, like, is that it's that unmasking? But in order to get to a picture that I take, I've got to do some real thinking about what I'm trying to represent in this photo. Okay, so there's all sorts of things you could pick out. You always pass failure on your way to success. And we talk all the time, especially I do, about the importance of failure and mistakes in learning. And so how do you take a picture of that? How do you represent that in one photograph? Now, I have also seen some artists do things. Sorry if I keep bumping this, I'm going up and down. My feet are on the unbalanced thing I have my camera on, my little pedestal. Anyway, I have seen some people do a series of pictures, almost like a comic strip layout that represents time passing or part of the same story or different photographs that give you glimpses and move you through something deeper or more meaningful, whether it's a story or an emotion, all sorts of things. So it could be that you say, fine, instead of one photo, I want you to do a series of photos, and you can choose how many. How are you going to represent this idea or this quote or this story in photographs? And the words are what they use to elaborate and help themselves get their hands around the idea or the quote or the passage that they're trying to do this for. This is actually really great for even Bible verses. So for those of you who are teaching Bible and your child's memorizing Bible verses, they have all these words and they can do an analysis of it. Now, let's take a photo of that. What is a photograph? What kind of picture represents that you just memorized in words? Okay, so those are some things with that. And then you can also do the same. That would be the emotional one and story. You can also do technique. So if I want, and if you're not a photograph teacher or a photograph expert yourself as a parent, which is highly likely, you can look up some things online about some basic composition or use of light or color, things like that, and bring a couple of those to the table and say, okay, I want you to, when you go to, you can choose what the topic is or what the theme is or what you're trying to capture, but what I want you to elaborate on and think about and then represent in your photo is maybe what high contrast does and why it's valuable. High contrast versus low contrast in a photograph. What does it communicate differently? And why? How does it affect my emotions? Does it affect where my eye goes and what I see first that might affect my feelings or my overall experience with the photograph? So start then with, instead of it being a theme or a value or a belief statement or a quote, start with the technique stuff. Have them analyze and think about that in their words and how they could do that, why they would do that, what value it is, and then move into, okay, so now I want you to do a photograph or two that represents that. So photography, that's the way to move from one to the other. Kind of keeping it short tonight because I have something really exciting I want to share with you and I don't want to go over my time. But I want to see, are there any questions on how to use photography to improve writing? I'm not seeing any pop up, but if ideas or questions or how could I do this comes to mind, feel free to put it in the comment section. I keep pointing there, but my hand goes off the screen, so you're not sure. But I'm pointing to the comment section. Please put those in. Let me know what parts of this are helpful and where you might still have questions about using photography. If it's a smaller child, well, let me say this. You do not have to go out and buy a big expensive camera to do this. iPhoto, or the photo app on most iPhones, is almost superior to some cameras out there. So, and there's a couple different apps that you can get. I don't know the names of them right off the bat because I don't really use them. I think Instagram has a built-in app that does this, but anyway, there are apps that let you alter the image right after you take it, whether it's turn it black and white or turn it sepia or high contrast, low contrast. So you can kind of do some doctoring of the photo. So while photographers, if you talk to really professional photographers, they feel compelled that the photo they take should be the photo they show, that there shouldn't be a lot of photoshopping going on. The best photographers should be able to capture those things in their photograph. Great, but brand new students and with some of the tools today, that doesn't have to be the case. So especially if your child is young and they're new, this is one way they can kind of experiment with photography as well. So they take a picture and then they play around with, how does it change how I feel if I shift this to black and white or shift it to sepia or shift it to a red filter or things like that. Things that it used to be the only way you could get a photo that looked like that was if you changed the camera itself. And now we have so many other tools. It's awesome. So if they're interested and young, you don't have to go get a camera. Just use your smartphone. Let them take it. You can even download them into some of the different photo apps, and there are on the computer. And then they don't have to be doing the altering on the phone, but they can learn how to do just a few changes that. So then the question might be, okay, I'm going to have you take a photo, okay, or take a photo, and then we're going to do some analysis of it in terms of technique. But what I'm going to have you do is take it and we're going to like print it and look at it in color and black and white and sepia with raise the high contrast, change this, and let's talk about how does the different techniques with light affect how it feels or looks or moves an audience. So that's even some things you can do starting with a photo they take and then do some analysis of technique with it. Or you could set it up as, here's the things we want to compare and look at, and then now I want you to go take a photo that we can do these things with. So you can move in either direction, and I want to encourage you to do both because I think that if your child enjoys photography, let it be a main opportunity to write about and in and analysis and comparison so that they can improve their writing skills, but with something that they're really enjoying and want to learn about themselves, which is photography. So that's tonight's episode. So I have some exciting to share. On Monday night this week, June 25th, I am offering a masterclass called Understanding the Learn, L-E-A-R-N, in Learning. And I'm going to be elaborating for you and hitting three main things. Okay, number one, what mistakes does everybody make when it comes to learning and why we need to take a look at those so we don't make the same ones. My Learn framework and why is it important to even consider addressing my child as a learner versus just teaching academic content. And number three, a couple secrets about how we can awaken the learn in our child. How can we get them really excited? And so I'm going to put the link on here. You can go sign up for it. It's totally free. It's an hour. We're going to be going from 8 to 9 p.m. And let me tell you, if you think, well, I'm not going to be able to stay for the whole hour, but I can check in at 8, come check in, participate, listen as you can. I'm only offering a replay to those who sign up and show up. So if you sign up, show up even for just a couple minutes, then you'll have a chance to rewatch it at another time that might be more convenient for you. So come check in for me on that, okay? I would love to be able to share my learning experience and what I know about learning with you. I think it's so important as homeschool moms. So again, that'll be Monday night, and the link's gonna be right up here. Sign up, and I hope to see you there. Okay, All right, you guys have a fantastic Thursday night if you're watching live, or Friday and fabulous weekend if you're watching the replay. Okay, talk to you later. Bye-bye.